Hey guys, we are back again with our partners over at FANATICS Sportsbook and talking FanCash. Most sportsbooks, well, their rewards are just fluff, but FanCash is the ultimate sports currency. When you bet with FANATICS Sportsbook, you get up to 10% FanCash back on your wagers, win or lose. Did we mention that they are giving away millions in FanCash this year and that you can use that FanCash on anything in the FANATICS universe? Go check it out yourself and download the app today. FANATICS Sportsbook. Winning hits different here. Must be 21 or over. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777. Massachusetts, call 800-327-5050. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Maryland, visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Not available in all states. Terms apply. See FANATICS Sportsbook app. Hey there, Knicks fans. How you doing? It's your boy, Jonathan Macri, with you for another episode of the Knicks Film School Podcast, a very special episode, what has become a preseason tradition. We have, I guess, a couple of preseason traditions at this point. This is, I think, the longest running among them. Jeremy, maybe you could help me out and remind me how many years we have been doing this. But first, let me introduce everybody who is here today. I'll start with you, Jeremy. Hi, Jeremy. How are you?
Hey, John. Doing well. Excited for another year of this. Of course, I don't remember how many we've done of these. I can tell you it's at least 3 before this one.
Here's what I remember. I had a prediction that had something to do with a gentleman by the name of Dennis Smith Jr. I don't remember what the prediction was. I couldn't tell you whether it was a positive prediction, a negative prediction, but I know I made a Dennis Smith Jr. prediction on this a previous version of this podcast. We'll see if Dennis Smith Jr. comes up today. I don't think he's going to, though.
You never know.
One does never know. Let me introduce our esteemed guests, both of whom are from, of course, Locked On Knicks, our friends from Locked On Knicks. I'll start with you, Gavin, because Gavin, this is now how many years I've seen you in this, so you're old news. Sorry, buddy. What's going on?
That's cool. I'm doing well. How are you, man?
I'm doing good. Good. It's. I'm happy to be doing this, and I was excited when you messaged and asked if we were down for this again, because it really is a very cool tradition that I love. And then a familiar face, a new face in this role, but a very familiar face because he was a teammate of ours at Knicks Film School, and now he is already off to a running start here with Locked On Knicks. XJ, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I like what you guys done with the place. Everything looks good. I think last time I was on a Knicks Film School podcast was like 27,000 YouTube subscribers ago for you guys. So, you guys have been shaping up since I've been away, but happy to be back and part of this age-old tradition here.
I'll give the Knicks like 17% of the credit.
Doesn't hurt. Yeah.
Sounds fair.
Somewhere, give or take a few percentage points. So this is our annual preseason tradition, or preseason predictions, home and home podcast, as we like to say, where you are obviously listening to this episode here on the Knicks Film School Podcast Network. And then after you're done with this, you'll be able to hop over to Locked On Knicks, where I'm sure everybody listening to this is subscribed anyway, where you'll be able to hear part 2. And that is, of course, posting tomorrow on, and tomorrow, as we are recording this, will be Thursday, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yep. Yeah.
We're going to do, we're cutting it down a little bit because these things tend to run long, and, I mean, what can I say? We're kind of busy. So we're doing only 2 predictions each. We're going to do 4 here, 1 for each person, and then 4, on the Locked On feed. I'm going to just go right ahead and throw it to our esteemed guests here. XJ, Gavin, I'm going to leave it to you. Which one of you wants to go first and give your first preseason prediction for the Knicks?
I'm throwing it to XJ. This is initiation. This is first time on the show. Well, not on Knicks Film School, but on the Bold Predictions crossover. XJ, buddy, it's all you. Lead us off.
That's great. I'll take it. I'm ready. I'm ready to go. Let's do it. I think we should start so I can shock all of you, all 3 of you who all know me. You all know I love 3-point shooting. So John, Jeremy, Gavin, Andrew's disembodied voice somewhere. I will take you all completely off guard and say that my first prediction is that 40% of the Knicks field goal attempts this season will come from the 3-point line. This last happened in Knicks history. I looked it up. Was literally never. So this has never happened before. They came close under Tibbs in 2022. 39% of their shots came from three, with a guy named Evan Fournier doing the heavy lifting there. Unfortunately, they had nothing to show for it because their offense was still really bad. But, the Kings under Mike Brown just barely hit this mark in 2024. And I just think this Knicks roster demands it. I think of their top 10 projected minutes getters, 8 of them attempted at least 5 threes per 75 possessions. 8 of them shot at least league average from three. If 80% of your roster is like essentially like snipers from three, I think it makes sense. And so I think this is going to happen. I think 40% of the Knicks shots are going to come from the 3-point line, and I will be ecstatic if I'm right at the end of the season.
So I'm just going to start right off the bat and point out for anybody, because you obviously, we all know that the number is low. I frankly don't know that I would have guessed that it was this low. And it's crazy that now we live in an age where 35, because I'm old, so I can say this, 35.1% of your shots coming from three is a low number in the NBA. It's 27th. Off the top of my head, did like 8 teams reach 40% last year or more? Am I low?
I think it was exactly 8. You might be right.
Okay, that was a guess.
I think so.
My only question to you is, when you're making this, as you were making this prediction, was there one player that you had that you were like, if this does not go well, I have a feeling I'm going to wind up blaming it on this player or 2 players, or do you just think it would be something else?
No, I didn't really think. I just thought about it by like what their roster looks like, how many different kind of cool 5 shooter lineups that we've seen in the preseason. And not saying that Mike Brown's going to run all those lineups out, but I just think there are so many configurations where they are going to get really nice penetration. They're going to get drive and kick threes, and I think they're going to take a ton of them. I don't even see how it's avoidable. I know it'll be 38. I probably worst case scenario, I think it'll be 38%. So they're going to flirt with the number. It's just a matter of if they hit 40, and I hope they do. It's like a nice round magic number. Like you said, John, 8 teams hit it last season. So we're getting into an age where it's not the rarest thing in the world. Knicks haven't done it yet. And I think 2026 is the year.
I actually was, cleaning. It depends, I guess, probably on NBA. It's closer. It's maybe Cleaning the Glass has it at 12 teams. And then like you just said, there's another 5 that kind of flirted with it. They have actually 17 total teams above 38% of the shot frequency. Man, Jeremy, what do you think? You buying this one?
I'll buy it. I just worry that it's going to be at 40%, and then Mikal Bridges in his Ironman streak hits a mid-range jumper and the number goes down like 39.9. Yes, I could see that happening. I also wonder if the Knicks are out running a little bit more. Are they trying to push the pace further, getting more shots close to the basket? That's the only other factor that I could see really having an impact on it. But I mean, Mike Brown said he was comfortable with the team. A goal was to shoot 43s a game, something along that. So they're going to let it fly. We'll see how the rest of the roster shakes out as well. But based on who the options are, it feels like you're either adding 3-point talent or you're removing players who wouldn't even be in the rotation really to begin with. So might as well buy it. It's a whole change in philosophy. I think some things could die hard when it comes to the Knicks, but they're also there is a level of comfortability. It's just how much do they lean into it? We know that they're a really good catch and shoot team, especially from 3. So why they wouldn't create those opportunities, like you both have said, and in addition to that, capitalize on them, or at very least, I mean, we're not even talking about making them. We're just talking about largely the attempts, it seems. So I buy it. I'd like to see it. To John's point, it's nice to know that there's several teams above 38. It's how the league is trending, especially with corner threes. Knicks really didn't do a whole lot differently from a corner 3 perspective last year compared to the year before, but the rest of the league did. And I would imagine that based on the front office's philosophy and how Mike Brown coaches, that they capitalize, especially there. But above the break threes, they won't stop there either. So I'm buying it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was about to say, Gavin, I'm going to put you on the spot with a question, but what were you going to say?
No, go for it. What's the question?
I was going to ask you, within this prediction, obviously is a collection of players who are all going to individually have to put up a lot of threes. Would you care to make a prediction as to who you think will lead the Knicks among the top 9? So we're not counting Shamet, who's an obvious answer for this. Who do you think will lead them in 3-point frequency? For context, last season, DEUCE McBride, 56% of his shots came from deep. After him, you have to go down to OG Anunoby was 41%. And then Mikal Bridges was at 37%. Am I missing anybody? No, those were the numbers from last year. Yeah.
So I think based on that, DEUCE is probably the safest answer, even though I do think he will be a lot better around the rim this year. And this bleeds into my first prediction. And XJ, your first prediction is incredibly similar to my second prediction. So there's going to be a lot of overlap in our reasoning there. But the broadest point I would make here is it seems very clear that the Knicks front office wanted them to take more threes. Every single player they added this offseason was a shooter to some extent. And even if you don't want to put Jordan Clarkson in that category, he's another creator for them off the bench to generate more 3-point shots, and someone who I think is going to be a meaningful upgrade in that area. I think all the dribble handoffs they've incorporated, and just general, I think a lot of, I know Mike Brown's saying he's not calling plays, but a lot of the offense is directed to getting guys into the lane with head starts. And he's made it very clear, the end goal of that is sprays for high quality corner threes, high quality wing threes. Gershon Yabusele is an elite above the wing 3-point shooter. It just feels like they've added more 3-point versatility and more ways to get to those 3-point shots. On top of it, I know I have a feeling XJ is going to talk about this a little later, and I almost made a prediction about this. I think you're going to get a much more comfortable Mikal Bridges this year, and obviously he already took a good amount of threes last year. I wouldn't be surprised if he's taking even as high as 1.5 more threes per game and cutting out some of those mid-range and turning them into 3-point shots. His form looks effortless. It looks excellent for the most part this preseason. So I just think there's a lot of reasons to believe this team will get better looks from threes, and their shooters will be more comfortable taking them. None of that is to mention the fact that we're seeing a lot more off-ball stuff for Jalen Brunson that is almost all designed to get him 3-point shots. So it feels like it's all going that way.
I was about to say, there's been talk about getting Towns more threes, because there's always talk about getting Towns more threes because he should be taking a lot more threes. And he was only at 25% in terms of, again, frequency of his shot diet from deep. The more astounding number, to your point, Gavin, Josh Hart took 29% of his shots from deep last year. Okay. Jalen Brunson was at 30%. There is no conceivable universe where Jalen Brunson should be taking roughly the same percentage of his shot diet from 3 as Josh Hart. And that is what happened last year. So you're saying Mikal is the one maybe to make the leap. What's a crazy number for Brunson? Is 40% of his shots from 3 crazy for Brunson? I don't know.
Is he? I think this would be my question. Is he comfortable taking that many? Does he want to take that many? I think Mike Brown is going to push him. And I'll throw this back to XJ because I know he has the numbers on off the top of his head. He is as good of an off the dribble 3-point shooter. He's one of the best catch and shoot guys in the entire NBA. So maybe that ups it. I just don't know if that's his inclination. And to me, that's always been the issue for because I'm someone, and we heard stories early in his Knicks tenure that the Knicks have a 4-point line in their practice facility. Yeah. He would shoot from there. And I've always kind of wondered all right, but is that reasonable with his workload? Just because he's not Steph Curry in terms of an effortless release from 30 feet. It takes a lot of effort for him to get to his threes. So that would be my only pushback. But actually, I'm curious your opinion on that.
No, I love that point, Gavin, because I have this experience, and this is something I talk about a lot, where Jalen Brunson, especially at the ends of games, the Knicks will be down, let's say they're down 10 points or something with a couple minutes left. And it's you got to get threes up, and Brunson will take the defensive indifference, if I can use a baseball reference, and take the layup that the defense is allowing, or take the mid-range that the defense is allowing, as opposed to forcing up a 3. And to me, that lowers your win probability when you make those kinds of decisions. But I think that's Jalen Brunson's comfort in his wheelhouse. And it's I know I can get a bucket. If I get to the short mid-range, I'm 99% confident I'm going to make the shot. From three, it's a little bit more risky. And obviously, no matter how good a shooter you are, you're not going to shoot a super high percentage from three. So I think Jalen Brunson does the math in his head like, I'm going to take the shot I know I'm going to make, as opposed to I'm going to take the shot that's worth the highest value on a points per shot basis. So I kind of agree with you, Gavin. Even though he's an elite 3-point shooter, especially catch and shoot, I don't think he's going to be comfortable taking that many.
So this is his 8th season in the NBA. And in 5 of the 7 he's played, he's been at 30%. From attempts.
Exactly 30.
Yes. So for him to, maybe he adjusts a bit, but to get to, closer to 40, I just would be very surprised, because we're seeing someone who is what I believe to be a top 10 player in the NBA changing up his shot diet and just how he operates in such a significant way. For me, it's, there's probably some adjustment, but can you get it's absolutely, can you get the quality of that shot when he's taking the shot, the movement, so that you let other players where that's really their bread and butter and create for them in a way where, XJ, your point, like he's still able to operate in the mid range. And if you have everyone else doing their jobs of shooting more threes, then you can live with it, because it's a math problem at that point, because and it's not as much a problem, because if you're spamming good threes, you're comfortable with Brunson being able to play his game, because if you're basically saying we trust good 3-point shooters to hit shots, and of course preseason, but nonetheless, we saw that Wizards game. They were missing quite a bit, or even the game before that, there were a lot of missed shots, really. So you let your best 3-point shooters who do it on a consistent basis do their jobs, leaves Brunson the ability to keep doing his job and operating where he feels comfortable too.
Brunson took the same percentage of his shots from three last year as De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox is a 30% 3-point shooter, not 30% frequency. He's that too, but last year he was a 30% conversion rate. Brunson's 38.3% 3-point shooter last year, and has even been higher than that. I like how this is where this first part of the conversation devolved into, because it is a major point that I don't know why we maybe don't talk about more. Okay, Gavin, let's go to you. What's your first prediction here?
All right, XJ, this one's a love letter to you, because I know you'll appreciate it. DEUCE McBride closes 5 or more playoff games for the Knicks. Just because closes is an arbitrary term, I'm going to say plays the final 4 minutes of a game uninterrupted as a close term. And this is obviously one that has been just like a big point of contention in like the Knicks Twitter community, Knicks fan base community, like people who want DEUCE to get those opportunities at times. I think it was rarely a thought for Tom Thibodeau. I can't remember John Germany, XJ. Like if you guys do, like feel free to point it out. If he did close a playoff game last year, maybe he was on the floor for one, but generally that was not even an option for the New York Knicks. And to me, like it will likely be some iteration of last year's starting lineup with DEUCE on the floor for Josh Hart, or this year in place of Mitchell Robinson. That lineup essentially got no run in the regular season last year. They only played 82 possessions, and they were fine over those 82 possessions. Interestingly enough, they were a 100th percentile offense and a 3rd percentile defense. So, and that is obviously the concern, having Brunson and DEUCE on the floor. I'll make the case though. To me, like it almost starts defensively as much as the obvious of his spacing. Last season, he was a 99th percentile screen navigator per B-ball index. I know XJ's thrown the stat out a number of times. Mikal Bridges was like the worst high volume screen navigator in basketball last season. I'm sure part of like that discrepancy is that DEUCE got to play at least some of his minutes like in the second half of the year with Mitchell Robinson, and generally like not as much with Karl-Anthony Towns, which obviously hurt Mikal. But I do think in the playoffs where point of attack guys, like especially let's just say you're playing the Sixers in the first round, you're playing Tyrese Maxey, like those quick lead guards, like he is just far more equipped to chase around at this point than Mikal is, even if I expect Mikal to have a bounce back there. And DEUCE was just consistently part of a lot of the Knicks' best lineups last year. He was the only player on the team in all 5 of their best lineups. He was a part of 2 of the 15 best lineups in the NBA last season that played at least 100 possessions, including the second best unit, which was interestingly that 5-man group with Josh Hart in place of Mikal Bridges. So that's fascinating. And maybe that's something the Knicks go to. Just generally based on what we've seen this preseason, because I can throw all the numbers out I want. Like, the coach has to believe in it at the end of the day. I'm inclined to think that Mike Brown sees the value of 5-out lineups. I counted, like, in that Timberwolves game, they went to 4 different ones over the course of the matchup. And I think it's pretty reasonable that if he sees like significant data in the regular season, that is the Knicks' best group, and that he wants just a little bit more malleability defensively with Deuce out there. Obviously, they're going to be better with Mitch out there, but I think Deuce gives them a little bit more flexibility. And just like when the games get tight, when the pace slows down and you have to score in the half court, Deuce is just such a, I'm going to use a gross term here, but I'm going to say it like lubricant relative to someone like Mitchell Robinson to score the basketball. So final note, I'll say he also had the lowest turnover percentage of any combo guard in the NBA, according to Cleaning the Glass. The ball safe in his hands. Again, maybe at the end of the day, Mike Brown, same as Tom Thibodeau, just ultimately doesn't believe in Brunson and Deuce together at that level. I think the data will bear out though, and he'll get some opportunities to close on the nights those lineups are working.
This is an anti-chafing podcast, so we're big fans of
Perfect. Yeah. That's I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yes. Number 2, shout out to our friends at Fanatics. If Fanatics came to me and were like, set the lines. So assuming Brunson, OG, and Mikal are going to be on the floor to close all the games. Because here's what I find most interesting about your prediction is that you're not, or let me ask you, are you assuming that Karl-Anthony Towns is on the floor?
Yeah, so I thought about this. I'm assuming that'll generally be the case, but I'm opening up a world where he's not having a good night or is in foul trouble, and it's Mitchell Robinson on the floor.
So if I was going to set the lines, I would, and let's assume that 2 of these 4 will be on the floor to close games. I would put the line for Towns at like minus 500, 350, 500, something like that he would close the most games out of this group of 4. I would put both Josh and Mitch somewhere in the neighborhood of even money, like even plus 150, something like that. And I would probably put Deuce at like, I would probably put him close to plus 1,000 in terms of what I think will happen, which is not necessarily what I think should happen, which gets me to my thing in response, which is like, if the Knicks are ahead late, and you want to close it out, and you want to make sure you get all the rebounds, and you want to make sure you get all the defensive stops, and you don't have any breakdowns on defense, and the whole thing. To me, there is and you still want to get quality shots. So, as like spacing with the defense, is there not an argument that Deuce plus Mitch is the way to go? I would just throw that out there. I'm curious what XJ, what would you think about that?
It's really fascinating. Not something I've considered too much. I mean, I've been thinking of it along the lines of the way Gavin described it. Actually, by the way, I'm wondering if when you, John and Jeremy started working together, if John, you were as sweet to Jeremy as Gavin is being with me with his first prediction, because that was a true love letter to me, and I apprate that, Gavin.
I want you to feel welcome, man. I talk to you.
I don't get jack shit, man. So.
I was about to say, we've never been sweet to each other.
No.
Well, I will take it. No, but that's a really interesting question that you're posing. I think the only way Towns, you know what? I could imagine Mike Brown going in a direction where Towns ends up sitting. Maybe there's for defensive purposes. And I could envision that situation. I don't think it'll happen often. I think more likely, and we'll see. I think more likely the Knicks will need more of an offensive punch to close games. And so that's why I imagine it being more like a Deuce plus Towns as opposed to a Deuce plus Mitch situation. But there could be those games depending on what the matchup is. Definitely wouldn't rule it out. So that's a really interesting angle to come at it from. But I also like about this pick, Gavin, that you're basically built into this is that the Knicks are obviously making a deep playoff run. If you're talking about 4 games where Deuce is closing, it's not 5 over 4. That's going to require, in my opinion, probably like at least 3 series for that to happen. So, and yeah, I mean, I'm anticipating the same thing. So I could definitely see it.
Jeremy, do you think, we haven't talked about this, I think, who do you think leads the Knicks in minutes per game among bench players this year? Assuming Josh Hart is not starting, how would you rank the 4?
Man, this is the thing of it's, to me, it then comes down to injury, because if you've got someone then filling a void, and I know what you're saying. It's like who of the guys who are on the bench for those minutes think I'll go with Yabusele, but that's
as the leader in minutes per game off the bench.
No. It'd probably be Deuce. It would no. You know what? I have to go with Hart. The reason I have to go with Hart was because with Claudio Casino, I picked over for Josh Hart of 29 and a half minutes. So I'm going to go with Josh Hart. I got to stay true to what I said earlier. So I will go with him.
Yeah, I'll ask the same question to you guys. Gav, actually, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's Josh probably, though. I could see it tilting. I think it will 100% be Josh over the first 30 games or so. I could see it slowly tilting a little bit more in Deuce's direction as the season goes along. But to me, it's like a numbers game where the Knicks only have 2 other wings on the roster and they just have so many guards. Like, and on a night where Deuce isn't shooting well, it's a lot easier to bench him due to relatively poor play than it is to bench Josh due to relatively poor play. So
yeah, same point I was going to bring up. I just think because of the wing limitations that they have on the roster, I don't see any way it's not. I'll just say I'll be shocked if Josh Hart doesn't lead the bench in minutes per game. Just with his durability and, OG had a really healthy season last year, knock on all the wood in the world. I'm not sure that I expect him to play the same number of games and have the same durability. So I just think Josh is going to play a ton of minutes, even if he doesn't start.
Although, yes, I agree with that. I haven't decided when I'm going to get concerned about this back thing. I'm not concerned yet. Check back with me in a week, I guess. Yeah. Well, a week is the night before opening, or as of when this episode posts, it'll be opening night. So yeah. If he's questionable for opening night, that's not going to be great. I would not like that. That would not make me happy, but we'll see. Okay, Jeremy, it's me and you.
See, XJ, this is what I mean. I didn't even get the opportunity to answer Gavin's question. Like,
I see.
I asked your opinion on this.
You asked me a non sequitur. It was not
not a sequitur. It was very much a sequitur.
It had nothing to do with Gavin's good
question. Give your opinion. Go ahead. Give your opinion.
Thank you very much. Gavin, I'm gonna sell it. The reason I'm going to sell, I love.
All right, John, take away the mic. Take away the mic.
Being silenced on my own podcast. Yeah. The reason I'm selling it is to the point of, okay, from a height perspective, with the amount of guards that you've got, with the trust in Josh Hart. I guess also we want to, from a point of clarification, we're saying there's no garbage time here. It's a close game, locked in. So in terms of creation as well, I wonder how much you put towards that, but the Knicks are likely, if the starting lineup they've rolled out is the one that they're going with. We're talking about where the second shortest player on the court is Mikal Bridges at 6'7". And I'm sure they're going to find ways, and the playoffs are a different animal than the regular season, but any ways to earn quick offense where necessary. And I think that you're going to get that absolutely in Deuce McBride. Do I think that at this moment, Mike Brown trusts Deuce McBride over Josh Hart, even if the point of attack numbers point in a better direction for Deuce McBride? I'm not sure. But that's also the Tibbs pill brain that I currently have, which is currently being rehabilitated and is eager to see what's going on. See, I mentioned his name, John. He does have a name.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I would like to see it. I just feel as though there will be a heavy reliance on Deuce at times that are not crunch time or clutch time, however it would be categorized. That it would be the time leading up to it. And then it's sort of the anchor is someone who's a little bit more relied on as well. But he plays a pivotal role in getting the Knicks to where they need to be.
Yeah, I'll say real quick, devil's advocate for mine. The Knicks defense was bad last season with Brunson and Deuce on the floor together in the playoffs. It was average in the regular season. It was decent in the playoffs the year before. But last season, they were 22nd percentile in defense, giving up 119 points per possession when those two played together. The counterpoint to that is those lineups have still been good. They were plus 13.6 in 24-25, plus 3.2 in 23-24. So they can suck on defense, and just the offense can be so good that it overcomes it. But if Mike Brown prioritizes defense, maybe that's a case for not playing it.
I wonder if this prediction is going to come down to matchup. Like if they face the Hawks, for instance, just to throw a team out there with Trae Young. And if Mike Brown is like, Deuce, you're my guy in this series, that could, we'll see, which would not shock me in the least, because he seems very willing to be malleable. Quick break to tell you about our friends from Cornbread. Guys, I'm not as young as I once was, but I care a lot about maintaining my physical and mental wellness. Cornbread hemp CBD gummies are a huge part of my wellness plan, to the point that it has made every bit of difference in just me getting up and feeling like my best day in and day out. If you've tried everything under the sun for peace of mind, it sounds like it might be time for you to try Cornbread Hemp's CBD gummies as well. The best part is they are formulated to relieve discomfort, stress, and sleeplessness, and all products are third-party lab tested and USDA organic to ensure your safety and their purity. Right now, Knicks Film School listeners could save 30% on their first order. Just head to cornbreadhemp.com/KFS and use code KFS at checkout. That's cornbreadhemp.com/KFS and use code KFS.
Hey guys, as we know, injuries are a part of the game. But when an injury takes your bet and your sportsbook leaves you hanging, that hurts. That's why our partners at Fanatics Sportsbook hit different. They got fair play coverage for you. Fanatics Sportsbook protects all pro basketball player prop bets from first half injuries. That isn't just protection. It's real value for your plays. Fanatics is the home of fair play all season long. Your old sportsbook won't do that. It's time to switch. Download the Fanatics Sportsbook app today. Winning hits different here. Must be 21 plus. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777. Massachusetts, call 800-327-5050. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Maryland, visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Not available in all states. Terms apply. See the Fanatics Sportsbook app.
Okay, Jeremy, now am I allowed to throw it to you for your prediction?
I would love that. Thank you, sir. So I'm going to be a little bit more rudimentary on my first prediction. And I'm going to make the bold prediction that the Knicks bench averages at least 35 points per game in the regular season. The reason that's a bold prediction, last year, the Knicks averaged 21.7 points per game off the bench. That was dead last. The year before that, 28.4. It was 27th. And the year before that, 29.5. So we're not even above 30 in the time that Jalen Brunson signed with the Knicks. This offseason, of course, the Knicks added, or will likely have added, Gershon Yabusele, Jordan Clarkson, Malcolm Brogdon, and we have DEUCE McBride in the hopes that he continues to hone his game. You are, if things stand, and this is also subject to change, shifting Josh Hart to the bench, and you are bringing Mitchell Robinson into the starting lineup. So you're potentially gaining a few more points there if we're really trying to separate the starters from the bench players. When you look at the minutes, fewer minutes for the starters means more minutes for the bench players. So that in and of itself might be able to boost the team certainly higher than it was before. But I want to also talk about Jordan Clarkson, especially from the scoring punch perspective. So he played most of his minutes the last 2 seasons off the bench, a year after starting every single game for the Jazz. He was categorized as a wing in the 2023-24 season and a combo in the 2024-25 season, according to Cleaning the Glass. So in basically in terms of shooting fouled percentage, which is the percentage of a player's shot attempts that he was fouled on, he was in the 69th percentile in the 2023-24 and the 76th percentile last season. And then if you go to the floor foul percentage, which is largely the non-shooting fouls that a player drew per team play, he was in the 87th percentile in 2023-24. And last year he was in the 93rd percentile. I know that he's going to drive fans mad at times, but it's not just his knack for scoring or his eagerness to score the ball, but how he is able to put the Knicks in a position to rack up those fouls, get to the line. The Knicks are still going to create more corner threes. No matter who is on this roster, they're going to have lead ball handlers that find corner threes. We know that they have a lot of players off the bench who are capable of being able to convert those shots. And also, I mean, if you believe that that 40% or more of their shots are going to be taken from three, then you would hope that that can equate. It's not causation, but that it would largely reflect in more points as well. So I think they're going to spread the love a bit more. They've got more offensive power in the bench. So 35 is a lot, but I think with the change, they can do it. So that's my bold prediction.
Before I get to you guys, I am going to throw a little bit of cold water on this in the form of math, which is everybody's favorite topic. So
it's literally mine, John, but go ahead.
I know it is. But this is like the most rudimentary math. This is not XJ level math. So last year, the Cleveland Cavaliers, I'm fairly certain this was an all-time record. Maybe it goes up this year. The league leader in points per game averaged 122 points, 121.9, but we'll round up to 122. I would proffer that is a nice high-end goal for the Knicks to reach. So let's go a little bit over 120 points. I personally would be surprised if, assuming Karl-Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson and OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges and Mitchell Robinson are the starters and play a majority of the games, I think it's going to be hard for those five to not hit 90 points. If I'm going 50 total for Cat and Brunson, I'm going 35 combined for OG and Mikal, which I think you could argue is low. And then Mitch, what am I got? 5-6 points left for Mitch. That gets me to 90. Now, where chicanery could be involved is if like one of those guys is out and, it's like, okay, Jordan Clarkson's coming off the bench, to your point. And now because a starter's out, Jordan Clarkson's playing 30 minutes instead of like 18 minutes. And he is like, he's gunning and the whole thing. I guess that's how you get over it. But assuming good health, I think basically your prediction is kind of like they're going to be hurt a little bit, because I don't see another way where you get there unless I'm missing something. Well,
the one thing I'll add here is that last season, 19 teams had at least 35 points per game off the bench, and one of those teams was also the Cleveland Cavaliers. They were actually 8th in points per game off the bench. They did not have quite as potent scorers, quite in the same way. Yep. And you saw someone like Garland might have missed time. But even still, when you have Mitchell, Garland, and Mobley, that makes up a large percentage. Even still, I hear you. Yep. And then it's the question of, okay, what is Clarkson doing? What is Yabusele doing? What is Deuce doing? And essentially getting up to speed that way, because we're really talking about, especially if Mike Brown runs a 9-man rotation, the 4 guys have to contribute to 35 points per game.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I'll just say, I'll throw it to you guys. You said the Knicks were last. They weren't last. They were dead last by a mile.
Yeah.
They were 21.7. The next lowest team was the Lakers at 26.2. Mm-hmm. It's absurd. XJ, what do you think about this one?
I like it. And I like the way that I like your rudimentary math, John, to kind of
appreciate it.
Back of the napkin, figure out how feasible this seems. I actually think I see some space for this to happen, in that I think Brunson's scoring is going to come down. And I honestly think Towns' scoring is going to come down. So I think there's a little bit of wiggle room here. I kind of think this is going to happen, to be honest. Okay. Again, minutes are going to be reduced like dramatically. Obviously, they're not going to score have 21 points coming off the bench. That's not going to happen. But that's a big gap. We're talking about 21 to 35. I see Brunson scoring coming down and then minutes coming down a lot. I think Mitchell Robinson being inserted in the starting lineup is sort of a hack for this, because last year they had a starter in Josh Hart who played, I don't remember how many minutes per game, but it was a lot. 38. Mitchell Robinson's 39. Mitchell Robinson's not playing more than like 24 minutes per game. So that's another, a discrepancy of 9 minutes between them. That's got to be made up by the bench. So to me, if you add all of that up together, I think it can get you there. I think it'll be close, but I think we're going to see a lot more bench activity. So I actually buy this. I think this is probably going to happen if I had to guess one way or the other.
Yeah. Is it? I mean, maybe not just because the starters are the same and they're all good and they all deserve a lot of minutes, but is it fair to say last season's number is almost irrelevant given the combination of new coach plus the only bench guy that's back is Deuce McBride? Like everyone else is new and you're bumping Josh Hart. Yes, John, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, just you asked if it's irrelevant. Yep. If the same top 4 are here, how irrelevant can it really be? And that's the only pushback I would give you.
Yeah, for sure. Like, and that's totally fair. I'm wondering, like, those, like, to Jeremy's point on the Cavs, those 4 are really good. The Cavs top 4 have all been all-stars in the last 2 or 3 years. Like, and this has kind of been because, like, we like on our show, we spent a bunch of time debating the rotation, and this gets into a deeper conversation. And like you guys are saying, like, it's going to be a 9-man rotation. I've kind of been wondering, like, is it going to be a 10? And I almost wondered, like, and we still have to see if Malcolm Brogdon even makes the final roster. But assuming he does, and the fact that, like, at least reportedly, he had a lot of different offers out there, I would be kind of surprised if the Knicks didn't guarantee him, like, something of a role in the rotation coming into the season. And maybe I'm completely off on that. And maybe he doesn't even make the final roster. But assuming he does, and assuming you're going 10 deep, like, the minutes, like, have to just be significantly strapped. Like, when I did my first projection of the minutes, I had Brunson at 34. I had OG and McHale at 30, and I think I had Cat at like 32 or 33, which is so low, right? And I don't think that actually happens, but there was no other way I could get everyone else on this team to reasonable minutes. And to me, that is like pretty much all this question is like, how dramatically are you reducing, like, a starting lineup that we all know played far and away the most minutes together and individually in the NBA? Are you taking that to league average? And if that's the case, 35 is maybe a little bit of a stretch, or are you taking it to, like, near the bottom of the league in minutes played by your starters? Because if that's the case and you are following that Cleveland model, I think it's totally reasonable. They get to 35 points. It's pretty much like as simple as the rotation to me.
I'm going to stick to my back of the napkin math. However, I will point out, in support of all of your arguments here, Mike Brown's first season as the Kings head coach, the Kings bench scored 37.3 points per game. That ranked 9th in the league. That was in the 22-23 season. And then his second season, the only other season he had a full season as head coach, they scored 35.7. That ranked 12th in the league. Now, granted, Malik was played exclusively off the bench in both of those seasons. He was healthy for most of those seasons. He averaged 13.5 and 15.5 points per game, respectively, in those 2 seasons. I don't know who the Knicks leading scorer is going to be off the bench this year. It would surprise me if that person averaged.
What do you think Josh averages off the bench this year, John? Like, I would think somewhere around 12 points a game. He was at 14 last year. But I'm expecting a little bit more transition and a little bit more, like, he gets more time on the ball coming off the bench than he does in the starting lineup.
See, I wouldn't be surprised if it was closer to 10.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's another great question. Who leads the Knicks in scoring off the bench? I think there's an argument for Josh. I think there's an argument for Deuce. I think there's an argument certainly for Clarkson. Yeah. It would surprise me a little bit if it was Yabusele, but stranger things have happened, I guess. I don't know, but I don't foresee anybody getting that many. But again, it's all of these guys. Jeremy, maybe this is the best part of your argument, which is that would it shock anybody if you said all of those 4 guys who are going to be the 4 primary bench guys, it seems, would it shock you if any of them averaged over 10 points? No. Probably not, right? You could see a world where Yabusele does it, Hart does it, McBride does it. So then, and if that's the case, then maybe 35 is not that nuts.
Here's the other thing. Our friends, they had how many players in the top 15 in 6th Man of the Year voting? 3?
Yeah.
So usually that award is largely a scoring and volume award. So if we have 3 players that are at least placed where their names are in consideration from a betting perspective, then it's really just one more player that can get them over the top. Because if those 3 all to that point averaged 10, 11, it's really just, it's not that much. And that's just one guy. Of course, then you have other players averaging out and whatnot, but I think they can get there. And another depressing note about last season, not only did the Knicks rank dead last in points per game by a wide margin, they also naturally ranked last in minutes per game, which was 12.7. So just seeing more than 12.7 and probably a significant increase off that will be nice to see no matter what.
I do want to just say, like, we should definitely be cautious about using the Cleveland comparison. Obviously, Cleveland being famously at the very other end of the spectrum to the Knicks in terms of how little their starters played. And then, people like myself praising them for it and then everyone getting hurt in the playoffs. But yeah, Donovan Mitchell at 31 minutes per game leading them is crazy. Like, I don't think we won't see that for New York, like the leading minutes getter at 31. I can't imagine that would happen.
I would be shocked. Okay. I'm up. This one is, you could call this a hot take. I think Mitchell Robinson is going to make first team all defense.
That's scalding, I think.
So it's a 2-part prediction here, because the first part, I think, is the more concerning one for Mitch, given his history in terms of games played and, more accurately, games not played, is health. You need to play at least 65 games if you want to win this award. And Mitchell Robinson has played at least 65 games twice in his career. He played 72 games one season, started 62. And then his rookie year, he played 66 games. He's also been at 61, 59, 31 twice. And then last year, 17 games. So I need Mitchell Robinson to exceed his total games played from the last 2 seasons combined by, around 20 games. Realistic shot at all defense. So that is an uphill battle. And then there is, of course, is he actually good enough to be warranted or considered for all defense? And the reason why I feel comfortable making this take is I think he's healthy now. I'm banking on him staying healthy. That's really all it comes down to. I'm banking on him staying healthy because I think he is going to establish himself, maybe not as the best defensive player on the Knicks. I think that's an interesting discussion. But I think the guy who their defense becomes most dependent on in terms of he's the one that when he's out there, they reach a certain level. And then is no shade on OG Anunoby, or for that matter, no shade on Mikal Bridges. But the fact is that we saw this defense be pretty not great at times last year when both of those guys were on the court. And not that they didn't have moments of that with Mitch too. They did. But I don't know what else to say there. I'm high on Mitch this year. And then you look last year, all defense, first team, Mobley, Dyson Daniels, Luke Dort, Draymond Green, Amen Thompson. It's pretty rock solid top 5. After that, gets a little, Zubac, Jaren Jackson Jr., J-Dub on OKC, Tumani Kamara, who's an excellent defensive player, but just wasn't a big part of his team, although he played a lot of minutes. And then Rudy Gobert got the last spot over OG Anunoby. And then after OG, you got Bam, Derek White, Giannis Antetokounmpo. SGA finished 15th in the voting for this award, or for these spots last year. SGA is an okay defensive player. A lot of that was based on reputation, obviously. It's not necessarily earned. I guess I think there's an opening. Maybe it's a bigger opening than I'm willing to admit, or a smaller opening than I'm willing to admit. But I think there is an opening. And if there is a narrative that develops around, for the Knicks to have any chance of winning a championship, Mitchell Robinson needs to be on the floor for 30 minutes a game, because that's the only way they could defend at an apt level. I think that narrative maybe with some advanced stats that will be in his favor, hopefully, get him to cross the finish line. So there it is. Any takers on this one?
I got to take on this. I like where your head's at for sure, John. I do want to give you throw you a little extra bone, because you mentioned Mitch playing 61 games. That actually would have qualified. It was 92% of the games that season.
It was a short season.
It was a shortened season. All you have to do is play 79% of the games to qualify. So that'd be a third season that he would qualify. The problem with it is that those were 3 of his first 4 seasons. Yep. And this is my biggest issue with this, is not that he couldn't make it. I think if he qualified, I love your pick if he qualified. I mean, we've seen a couple of years ago, OG Anunoby and Isaiah Hartenstein, those two on the court together automatically create an elite defense. And I think we could see a similar combination with OG and Mitchell Robinson. I'm just down on Mitch's ability to stay healthy. And I really hope that I'm wrong. I hope that the end of the season comes and it's like, man, the guy's 27. We're acting like he's 37. Like he's still got some miles left in the tank. But I just haven't seen it in so long. And I don't know. I just got to see it before I'm going to buy it. If you were to tell me, contingent on your pick is Mitch plays 65 games, I'd be all on board with it. It's just a health issue. That's nagging me.
No, that's what makes it spicy. Gavin?
Yeah, I think this is maybe one of the bolder predictions we've ever had. So I want to give you credit on that. And I think so, because I think the comment, and that's not like me crapping on it. Like I really like it. And I kind of agree with Extra just because I find it so I just think the Knicks are going to be so incredibly conservative with him, even when he's healthy. And like Mike Brown kind of hemmed and hawed a little bit when he was asked if he's going to play back-to-backs this year. Like I think the Knicks know, obviously, like the goal is to be healthy in April, May, June, and without Tom Thibodeau, like I think Mike Brown, sorry for the shot, your guy, John, like I think they lean into that more than ever, and are really conservative with him. So even when he is healthy, I think there will be games that he sits. So that makes it a little difficult for me to get there. The other point I look to is the counting stats a little bit, like his shot blocking has gone down. Like it tipped up a little bit in 21-22 and 22-23, but pretty much from his rookie year, he had a career high 2.4 a game last season. With caveat, is only in 17 minutes, and he could play something like 27 this year. But it was all the way down to 1.1. His stocks were down to 2 total. And we just know that over the course of his career, and I would say this is a good thing, he's become a much savvier defender. He's become much less willing to like jump at, I can say it on this show, bullshit. Like he's not going to get the same numbers. He's not quite the same vertical athlete. I do think his cardio is maybe better than it's ever been. And we saw flashes of that last year. I love the way he's run the floor this preseason. That's obviously going to help him defensively. His hands have just become excellent, and he's become so freaking smart on that end of the floor. Like I was making the case before he got hurt in 23-24. I thought he was one of the 10 best defenders on planet Earth. So I'm all on board on this in terms of the type of talent that Mitch is and the way he affects games. And I think people who watch the Knicks extremely closely will see such a substantial discrepancy in terms of the Knicks' effectiveness defending pick and rolls when he's out there compared to what it was like with Cat last year. I just don't know if all the voters will be watching quite that closely. And my final thing is, and this is like not even going through everyone, 2 guys who didn't make it last year who just will, if they're healthy.
I was just getting to this one.
Chet and Wemby will make it. And I know it's positionless now, but like I think it's still like last season, Mobley was nominally the only center. I think it's hard to pitch people on like, are you going to pick 4 centers next year?
Well, and like, just on that point, yes. So Mobley was the only on the first team. Zubac, Jaren Jackson Jr. and Gobert did make second team. Yeah. Again, I could have gone just all defense as opposed to all defense first team, but what's the fun in that? Great point about Wemby and Chet, because if they stay healthy, they're going to make it. Jeremy.
Yeah, I don't see it, unfortunately, largely due to the reasons that have been stated with health and just simply other talent being there. A lot of it's going to be reputation as well. Mitchell Robinson will be 28 years old when voting would commence. And for him to go from, well, he's a good defender, of course, to let's put him on first team? Yeah. Let alone all defense at all. There's also, and it's not fair, but for whatever reason, voters really like defensive players who also are more polished on the offensive end. Like even Toumani Camara had double-digit points per game. And again, I don't want to reduce it to that, but like unless you're a Draymond Green type, most of the time, and maybe Rudy Gobert, but even Rudy's able to at least add something in the form of if you want to call it buckets, I guess. But I'm not saying it's a fair thing, but for whatever reason, when it comes to the voters, when they think of high impact players, you either have a reputation from before and it sticks with you and that helps you get across the hump, or you just do more offensively, and defense is not a sexy thing. It just isn't. You can cite as many reputable advanced stats and they will, in my mind, be worthwhile and worth considering. But for the voters who are stretched thin and probably not watching teams on that level of scale, they could look at someone like Mitchell Robinson, even if he were to be at 65 games, and say, oh, he's an excellent defender. But would I put him over these players and the reputations? We're very we're very eager as a society to crown players and anoint them and put them on pedestals, sometimes to tear them down, but other times to uplift them for the sake of the game. And when they're just bigger names out there, like Zubac's being on there, is hope for someone like Mitchell Robinson. But in terms of will he make that impact, even if games criteria didn't exist, I just find that Mitch's reputation is largely set, and it's going to be hard for him to eclipse several other players as time moves on.
The scoring part, I think, is, for me, I think it's that has more to do with, like, in order for you to help your team on defense, you need to be a helpful player overall, because you have to be on the court. Mm-hmm. Like, you can't just be a defense only player. You have to be able to contribute in other areas. And if your offense is so bad that you can't even stay on, then it's like it doesn't make your defense worse, but the impact is less because you're like,
it's all perception is where I'm getting at. I don't think it's fair, to be clear, but I just think that's the perception.
No, but to your point, it bears out, because I just looked at the last 3 years. Unless I missed someone, the only guy to play to make all defense and play like under, I think it's 28 minutes a game, was Caruso 3 years ago. Averaged 23 and a half minutes. He averaged 5.6 points. The only pushback I'm going to give you on the narrative thing or the perception and all that stuff, I do wonder if the playoffs was step one, because Mitch got a lot of love in the playoffs. And I wonder if he can pick up where that left off. I don't know it. I don't know if it's enough. I think the smart money says you're right. Well, the smart money agrees with all of you. Nobody would be wise to place this bet. But I do wonder if he already got a little bit of a head start. I don't know. We'll see.
John, let me throw a quick question at you. How good would the Knicks team defense have to be? Because to me, that's what would change his reputation. If the Knicks all of a sudden jumped into somehow being a top 5 defense, I just don't think that's going to happen. But to me, that would create, like, there should be a candidate from that team if they made that kind of jump.
I think realistically, if they could get somewhere in the low teens, 12, 13, something like that. But I think it would have to be a situation where the Knicks defense is equivalent to whatever, top 5, top 6, top 7 defense when Mitch is on the court, and they're equivalent to a bottom, 8 defense when he's on. It would have to be something like that.
That's exactly what I was going to say, John. It's like, I think it's the on off in a weird way. And I know voters don't necessarily take that into account like so deeply, but I do think that would be a big narrative that would happen. If it's like, when Mitchell Robinson is on the court defensively, the Knicks are 8 points better.
Yeah, something crazy.
That would really push it in this direction for sure. And I think that that's kind of the only chance that he would have, in addition to having the minutes, the games played, because minutes is an issue as well. I remember, looking at the Caruso case and wondering if he wasn't going to make it because people were saying, he doesn't play enough minutes, or I think he came off the bench in that case. But I think minutes may be a bit of an issue. If the on-off is something crazy and it's like, this team defense is garbage without Mitchell Robinson, and when he's on the court, they're really, really strong, that I think can push the narrative in the other direction.
Can I throw a wild card number out there? Just
sure.
How many games do you think this season Mitchell Robinson will be closing? And I know it's difficult because there are going to be some lopsided games. There are going to be injuries, all of that. But if you had to think of a number.
35.
Oh my God. Did you see into my head? I was going to say 40, and then I was like 35.
So with that, and XJ, your thoughts?
Around 35 sounds right to me. Yeah, I would probably go lower, but yeah.
So with that in mind, especially if he continues starting but isn't finishing, how many players who are not consistently finishing games are also heavily prioritized for this award? Because someone like OG is, I think, a good face for how you say, look at what the defense has done. He's known as this player. He was so close to getting it before. He played in games, even if he's not as healthy. The Knicks have a great training staff, but he'll be closing games. And I just don't see Mitch doing that. And when you're closing games, that's where you get a lot of the glory. And there will be times where he does do it, but if he's opening and starting more than he's finishing, I just don't think his impact on a wider scale is going to be recognized in the way that we recognize a lot of the other top defenders in the league.
I could see that if he's actually a candidate, I could see that easily being a tiebreaker. And again, if enough guys stay healthy, the race for first team is going to be, it's going to be ridiculous, to say nothing of like, what if Asar Thompson makes a leap or something this year? Like it's going to get pretty wild. So which is what, again, it's a hot take. I get it, but listen, you only live once. So what the hell? All right. I think that does it for this half of the episode. I am going to just say thank you to XJ and Gavin for joining us. Be sure to check out the second half of the episode over on Locked On Knicks. Anything else from you guys before we go record the second half of this?
No, honored to be here. Thanks for having us.
Honor's all mine. Thank you guys. And thanks everybody out there for checking out another episode of the Knicks Film School Podcast. We'll be back with more fun and games before you know it. Peace out.